Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Wherever you happen to be in the world right now, I hope you're safe. I hope you and your loved ones are healthy. And I hope you're all doing okay during this whole coronavirus crisis that we all seem to be facing across the globe. I would also like to take this moment to welcome you to the Spirit Side podcast. I'm your host, Paul James Caden, and today we are going to be talking about, is there a global or national internet shutdown about to happen? Now, that is a question that the answer has a lot of components to it. So I'm going to jump right into today's subject because there is quite a lot to cover. I want to start out by saying that on this show, I have been talking quite a bit lately about some of the dangers of the conspiracy theories and the conspiracy theorists during this time of crisis. And most people agree with what I'm saying, but there are, of course, there are going to be people who disagree, and I know that going in. But I have gotten a couple of emails and some comments from folks on YouTube, from some people who watch my or listen to my podcast on that platform, and they've said they've always, one individual in particular said they've always liked the podcast, but they weren't happy with the last one I did about the 10 Days of Darkness and calling a lot of conspiracy theorists crackpots. And I get it. If there's people out there who feel that way, I get it. Because we all have, whether it be in religion or whether it be in politics, or whether it be in science, or whether it be in what is now called the truther community. A lot of people, most people have their favorite teacher, their favorite guru, their favorite voice of reason that they listen to and have listened to for a very long time. So there's a little bit of a defense mechanism that kicks in when someone says, hey, be careful with a lot of this stuff. Don't believe everything that you're hearing. I know that can be a little bit of a big bitter pill to swallow, and it can make the hackles go up, and we're ready to defend the people that we believe in. But I would also like to say that I've always repeated myself to say there are those individuals in the truther community, as it is known, who try to have integrity. Are they always right? No. Is everything they say perfect or correct? No, but they know this. They hazard a guess based on certain data as to what might be coming down the pike, and quite a few times these people are right. So I'm not saying that all of these people are crackpots, but there are a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of people that put out information that is more harmful than good. Now, why am I saying that on a podcast that's about a possible national or global internet shutdown? Well, this is one of the things that conspiracy theorists talk about, that the time is coming when the internet will be shut down. We're not going to be able to have free speech on the internet anymore. They're going to take that away from us. And it's part of the globalist control system being set in place. And I would also like to make a footnote here to say that yes, I do believe in the globalist, or what many people call the New World Order agenda. It's out there. You have to be blind not to see it. You have to be blind not to know about it. You have to be blind and deaf to not know about some of the things these people have planned, are planning on doing, and it's not good. Some of it is really pretty horrific. But in the face of all of that, I want to try to break down for you, the listener, in a logical, even scientific way, to see where we could possibly, in the face of all this, be our own worst enemies and actually cause the internet and information shutdown. And then turn around and cry foul, oh, look what they've done. Here's the big shutdown. They've taken away our freedom of speech. They've taken away our right to publish what we want on the internet or certain platforms. It is possible that we or certain people could cause that to happen and then sound the panic alarm even louder because, oh my gosh, here's the big internet shutdown. This is something we've talked about for months or years, and here it is. You know, everybody get ready, get your guns, or however you're going to prepare for this. Now, this is where I want to break this down for you in such an order that I hope the people who are defending their favorite conspiracy theorist or truther, whether they be good or bad, I don't know who everybody listens to. But whoever we listen to, whoever it is, whatever they're saying, I hope will exercise a little more caution in what we do, how we receive that information, and how it affects our lives, our society, our country, and even the world. So I hope I'm about to paint a pretty clear picture here about what my concern is and how we could be getting ready to actually cause the internet shutdown ourselves. Let's begin this breakdown by looking at the current coronavirus outbreak. Now, the virus is real. Now, it's, of course, up for debate. Is this something from nature? Did it come from animals? Was it developed in a lab in Wuhan, China? Is it a biological weapon? Is it something that was purposely released on the public? And now again, I understand those concerns, and I understand those kinds of reasonings. If you go back in the queue, probably a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I spoke several times on this show about the experiments that were done by the American government by spraying live viruses from airplanes over heavy populated areas, injecting live viruses into chicken eggs and putting them out on the market in certain areas to see how it would affect people. Now, it takes a special kind of evil mind to do something like that. And the intention to do something like that would never be good. You could never justify that and say, oh, we were just trying to help the people or help the country. There's no way in trying to make people sick secretly that would ever be for a good reason. It's morally wrong. And it just shows that there's something wrong with the thinking of individuals that would do such a thing. So yes, I get it. I am not blind to what the government has done, what they do, what they plan on doing if they have their way. But let's take all that off of the board for a minute. And let's just look at the coronavirus. Okay, first of all, we have a real crisis, a real problem, a real virus going around all over the world. Now, even most government officials, including the mayor of New York, who I just heard speak moments before I did this podcast, who said 80% of the people or more that get coronavirus are going to be fine. But there is another 15 to 20% or so that may have pre-existing health conditions, and these people would probably end up dying. But now there is a certain percentage of people that are young, that are healthy. They don't have any pre-existing health conditions. They're in excellent shape, and they've died from complications of coronavirus. So the odds are, 50-50, 60-40 for any of us that might contract this thing. We can't take for granted, well, it's going to be mild for me. I'm in good shape. I'm young. Because we don't know. So now, in the midst of this coronavirus that's out there, we already have a certain number of people who are not listening to what they're being told. They're not looking at the data. They're not even looking around them. Even if they decide they don't want to believe in the news media, they don't want to believe what the scientific community or the doctors are saying. They're not even taking the time to look around them in the world and see how this thing is affecting other people in real time. I know people who have loved ones, friends, and coworkers, and some of them very young, that have passed away because of the coronavirus. I can take a look at New York City and see what a mess New York City is in right now because of people getting sick with the coronavirus. But some people just have this amazing capacity to not even use their own mind and their own eyes to observe what's happening in the world around them, or in their community, or in their city, or in their state, or in their country. They're completely blind to all of these facts, and all they want to believe is, I'm young, I'm healthy, I can't catch it, I won't catch it. If I do catch it, it'll be just like a mild cold, I'll be fine. And these people are out there in droves, so many of them, going to the parks in big crowds, going and playing basketball, going to one another's houses, having parties. There was a park near me, not far from me, where just a couple of days ago, in the midst of all this, there was a huge group of people who went to this park and had a tailgate party. So there's already, in society, understand this, a certain number of people who are not listening. They're not even observing, as I said, what's happening in the world around them. Now, these people may get it, and it may be mild, but it has been said over and over again. What if you take it home to your parents? What if you take it to your elderly uncle or your grandparents or your neighbor? These people who are older may not be so lucky. You could give them the virus and they will die. But people aren't listening. They're still trying to go to nursing homes and visit their loved ones. So there's people in the midst of all of this who are not listening. Okay, we got that. Now let's add to that mix the truther community, who there is a certain percentage, and it seems to be growing on the internet, some of them in the upper tiers of popularity amongst these folks, who are telling their listeners one of two things. The virus isn't real, it's a hoax. No one has the coronavirus. No one's dying of the coronavirus. It's a complete and total media and government hoax. It doesn't exist. Then there is truther number two, and again, there's quite a number of them now, and this seems to be growing in the upper tier of popular individuals, telling their listeners that you can't catch a virus from another person. It's scientifically impossible for you to catch a virus from another person. So now we have individuals who think either this is a complete hoax or that they can't catch it because they've been lied to all these years by the doctors and scientific community. I can't even catch a virus. Well, this changes everything. Even if there is a virus out there, I'm not going to catch it. I'll be fine. So now we have these people going out in public, ignoring the orders to, or the suggestions to, social distance, stay indoors, stay at home, don't go out in large crowds. There's people ignoring all that because they don't believe the virus is real, or they don't believe they can catch a virus. So now we have an even larger group of people who are just completely oblivious to what's going on in the world, completely oblivious to what's going on around them, and they're just going out and living life completely normally. And because of that, the cases of the virus are going up every day, particularly in places like New York City, and where there's large numbers of people living in close proximity. It's even going up in some rural areas. The number of deaths are going up by 1,000 or more every day. So why are the numbers going up? It's because people are not listening. They're not keeping their distance. They're not staying home. We have this group of people who are just out there and insist it's their right. They're not going to catch it. They're young. They're healthy. The virus doesn't exist. I can't catch a virus from another person. So we see people getting sick and some mild symptoms. But then they're spreading it to other people. And I think the statistics are one person with mild symptoms or who even has the virus that might be asymptomatic could spread it to 4 to 6 people in one day. And those 4 to 6 spread it to 4 to 6. Then those 4, and onward it goes. And this is why we have skyrocketing numbers. And this is why we have certain states who are bringing in the police or the National Guard, or they're saying that if someone tests positive for COVID-19 and they're supposed to be quarantined, that quarantine will be enforced by local law enforcement to make sure they don't break the quarantine. Because there are people who are being diagnosed positive with the virus. They're supposed to stay away from their family. They're supposed to stay in their homes. And they're not doing it. They're just sitting down at the dinner table with their wife, their husband, their small children, going out to the grocery store, going over to their friend's house. So what's happening? More people catching the virus, more people dying of the virus, old and young. But this is why we're seeing some states enforcing the quarantine by law. But yet we have people on the internet saying, oh, see that? That's New World Order. They're making you stay in now. They want you shut away. They're making you do it. Well, this is why they're making you do it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or a lot of time and effort or energy to do 10 minutes of research and figure out why it's being enforced. But see, this is the problem that I have and have had for a very long time with a lot of conspiracy theorists, because they cause things to happen. People not listening, adding to that number of people who are not listening, infecting other people, getting sick, not staying in quarantine, going to parties, going to family gatherings. Then those people are getting sick, and some of them end up dying. And then when the governors or the president or somebody comes out and says, stay home. Stay home. You can go out and get your food. You can go out and get your medications, but don't be out there just wandering through the neighborhood or society like nothing's going on, because you're going to get sick and you're going to infect other people. And people still aren't listening. It's been said over and over and over and over and over ad nauseum since the beginning of this thing. And there are thousands of people who are still not listening. And then when the governors and then when the people say, hey, we're going to start enforcing this by law, they turn around and say, oh, the evil government, the New World Order. Yes, the evil government and the New World Order is out there, but if you, through your own willful stupidity, cause the governor of your state or the president or whomever to have to enforce this by law, then it's not the evil government, as evil as they are. It's your own idiocy doing this to yourself. So how can you cry foul play? And speaking of evil government and foul play, now let's go to tier number 2 of the problem. So I hope you understand the virus is real, the people ignore it, the people who don't believe it's real, the people who now believe they can't catch a virus, it's scientifically impossible because a truther told them so, and we're getting a really big problem on our hands. And it shouldn't be this way. The hospitals in New York City shouldn't be overflowing where patients are kept in hallways or in tents in Central Park, or clearing out college dorms and hotel rooms to get the sick people in because there's that many people getting infected. There shouldn't be that many people getting infected. If we would just use our brain. Everybody's so pissed off about social distancing. Oh, they don't want us to get near one another. It's more of a wedge so people aren't together anymore. No, it's common sense. Unless you're a complete dunce, if someone in your house has the flu or a cold, you don't go around them. That's social distancing. It's just the new name for it. You stay away from the sick person. If your dog or your cat has rabies, you stay away from it. If you get bitten or scratched or touch it and get its blood or saliva on you when you touch your face, you are going to get rabies. It's social distancing or staying away from your pet. What don't we understand about that? This is what my problem is. With a lot of this truther information, because it's making people batshit crazy, not paying attention to what's going on around them, making very bad decisions, labeling everything under some heinous delusion. Oh, look at social distancing. Believe me, if it were a plan to keep us all away from one another, I'd be singing like a canary on this podcast because, again, I'm aware of the agenda. But right now, from what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, what I'm researching, from what I'm noticing, all social distancing is just that. There's sick people out there. Stay away from them. Don't take any chances because if you get this thing, you could die. And even if you don't, the hospitals are being overwhelmed, and the people who really need that care, who are in danger of dying, may not even have an oxygen tank or a ventilator to go on because there's so many sick people just overwhelming the system because we're not staying away from the people who are sick. And if we're sick, we're not staying away from other people. It's very simple logic and science. I don't know what is so hard for some people to figure that out. But now again, dropping down to tier number 2, the next part of the problem. Now we have people that believe the virus is fake. We can't catch a virus. It's a government and media plot. It's the New World Order takeover. And who knows? It could be. These people and their agendas in the government, or what some call the deep state, these people are sick in the cranium, and you never know when it's coming. It's like being sucker punched. Life goes on, and then suddenly, shazam, here's a crisis or a manufactured crisis or a war or whatever. Some nonsense that we have to change life. It's not going to be the same again after this. So we don't know. But if we act like a bunch of idiots before that happens, in tier number 2, everything's a conspiracy theory. Social distancing, oh man, Look what they're trying to do. Enforcing quarantine. Oh, look what they're trying to do. Well, right now, it doesn't seem like they're trying to do anything except make the idiots listen and not infect other people. If there's any more behind it that I see or I suspect or I come across, I'm going to talk about it. But I'm not seeing it right now. But apparently a lot of other people do. This is nothing but the agenda to bring in the New World Order, and it's on its way. So what's happening? What's happening with tier number 2 who, man, it's coming. They're bringing in the New World Order. The globalization has begun. They're going to take away all of our rights. We're going to, this, that, and the other thing. What's happening because of that mindset? Well, here's just a couple for your consideration. And there's more, and I'm sure there's more than that. But here we have a man who derailed a train heading to New York City with supplies for, what is the ship that they brought in to turn into a hospital, the Mercy or whatever it is. This train was heading to that naval ship that they're now using as a hospital. This train was taking supplies to that trip, and a man derailed that train because he said that ship is there as a government takeover. They're there to give people COVID-19. This is all bad. This is a conspiracy. That train's never going to make it to that ship if I have anything to say about it. What else is happening? Dr. Fauci, the White House doctor, he's getting death threats. He now needs security around him because there are conspiracy theorists and truthers who are threatening his life and saying, you're lying about the numbers, you're contradicting the president, you're lying to the people. He's getting death threats. He now needs a security team around him when he's out and about. And there are more. Now remember, this is tier number 2. And there are more things going on like this where people are doing very stupid things that could harm, or they're looking to willfully harm someone whom they suspect to be one of the players in the grand conspiracy. Then we drop down to tier number 3, which hasn't fully come into play yet, but I'm imagining it will at one point at the rate we're going. And that is those who are being called on by the conspiracy theorists and the truthers, that when they start to enforce quarantine, if they force you to take a vaccine, if they force you or enforce anything, be ready. And be ready to rise up and resist. So, wouldn't this be a wonderful thing? People aren't listening. They're spreading the virus. A state or maybe the country tries to reinforce the quarantine with the help of local law enforcement, and we're going to have a number of people who are going to rebel and rise up and fight against that because Big Brother's trying to lock them away. So then what's going to happen? Well, we're going to see the rioting in the streets like we saw in China, like we saw in other countries when people rose up against the government. There's going to be looting. There's going to be destruction of property. Oh, that's what's coming. If we continue to blindly listen to some of these people. And what usually happens when the riots start? The rioters do not prevail. They are overcome by the police, the army, the National Guard. And then the really bad shit happens because now we do have martial law. Now we do have the internet shut down. And when those things happen, and it's very possible that they'll shut the internet down before it gets to that point. So it doesn't get to that point where people are rioting in the streets. But we have people derailing trains. We have people threatening to kill Dr. Fauci, for the White House doctor. We have people ready to get their guns and take to the streets. If anybody dare say we're going to enforce this quarantine and make you stay inside because you're too stupid to have common sense to stay away from the sick people or stay away from other people if you're sick. Hence, as I said in the beginning of this show, we become the problem. We caused the problem. That which we have greatly feared has come upon us, and we caused it to come upon us. And then we're going to turn around and say, see, I was right. See, those truthers were right. And that's going to happen with a certain group of people. Because if these people are too, and I hate to keep using this word, if these people are too stupid to stay away from sick people when they're sick, or to stay away from other people when they're sick, especially when there's a virus that's killing people that we've never experienced or faced before, and we're just kind of going through life, oh yeah, it's great, it doesn't exist, it's just a cold, I'll do what I want, I'm too young. If there's people that are too stupid to just stay home and stay away from other people for a while, These are going to be, or this is going to be, the mentality of people running out in the streets and rioting with guns and Molotov cocktails and whatever else they can get their hands on if quarantine is enforced. And then when things are really enforced and there's martial law and their town is, under lockdown, these are the people who will be too stupid to turn around and say, well, holy shit, we made that happen through our own stupidity. Nope. Just like they can't see what's going on in New York City. Just like they can't see that there's other people dying from this virus all around them. They'll be completely blind to their own actions that made this happen and just point out the window and say, see, we were right. It was the big bad government all along, and this is what they wanted to do. And the sad friggin' thing about that, ladies and gentlemen, is that there will be another large percentage of people who will believe that bullshit. And that, this is a spiritual show. Although lately, we haven't been talking too much about spirituality because there's so much that needs to be addressed and talked about going on in our world. And I hate to rant and swear, but hey, I'm a human being. And sometimes I get mad. Sometimes I get upset. And right now is what is upsetting me is that blatant stupidity. This is my problem with the fucking bullshit that these truthers are slinging, and people are taking it to the extreme. And then when they cause their own hurt, they'll turn around and take it to a new extreme and say it wasn't us, it was them. Not even realizing they had the shit fucking wrong the whole damn time. That's what pisses me off. And I hope I broke it down for some people so that they could get a grasp on what the hell I'm talking about when I say these things. Because if martial law comes and the internet shutdown comes, it's going to be because of this bullshit that we're seeing happen right now. And that's going to be sad. Because how many people will sit back once these idiots cause their own problems and people get hurt and the army's rolling through their streets because they're rioting? How many people will sit back and go, geez, they were right. Look what happened. Oh, there's barbed wire fence all around their town, all around their city, and they got the army and the National Guard crawling around, keeping people off the streets. They can't even come out of their homes. Oh man, the evil government and the New World Order. No, that shit happened because they made it happen. But sadly, there are people that just will not be able to see that. And that's what bothers me. That's what concerns me. That's what pisses me off when I hear these people talking trash on YouTube and on the internet. And I hope you can see through this simple breakdown. I tried to keep it as simple as I could to show you the chain reaction through the tears of individuals where this is headed and why it's going to happen. And if you don't think that those who would implement globalization don't know that there's going to be a bunch of idiots who act that way and use that to their advantage, then you're sadly mistaken too. So it's check and checkmate if that's what they wanted to do or plan to do. The people who are supposed to be the truthers and saving us all and getting us all prepared and telling us how to handle these situations are going to play right into the hands of the thing they feared most. And need I say again, that's my problem with a lot of this. That's my concern with a lot of this. That's what makes me mad as hell about a lot of this. So I hope we got a little bit of a clearer picture here and at least consider these things and stop being so damn blind and ignorant. Please. I've never seen so much ignorance in my life. And that's pretty friggin' bad coming from me. But I hope you got something out of this podcast. I hope you understand the problem here. And we'll try to put some common sense thoughts together in your head and be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I'm planning on doing another podcast next week where I want to try to talk about what if this is happening? What if this is the big globalist takeover? What should we do? What should we expect? And, what we'll see. I mean, it's day to day and week to week with what we talk about, because there's so much going on. But I hope this one at least sprinkles a lot of a little common sense throughout the ears of the listeners. And please do. And I'm not just saying this to say, oh, geez, I want a big popular podcast. But share this episode. Share this, especially if you know people that are truthers, especially if you know people, family members or friends that are on the bandwagon of this whole movement. And they're getting their guns ready, and they're just going out there because they're not going to catch the virus. It doesn't even exist, and it's scientifically impossible to catch a virus. Share this. Maybe it'll help. Maybe. I appreciate you all listening, as always. Stay safe out there, everybody. Love your families. Walk with God. And I'll see you next time here on the Spirit Side.